And I made the decision, the big decision to resign in July of last year. It was a hard decision. It's a lot of, I would say, self-reflection. It's a journey and figuring out what you want to do and putting yourself first and making a big decision that affects you, your family, and potentially the future in a good way. And I think this kind of abundance mindset of knowing that things will work out, but it's important to fulfill this desire that you have and see what happens, building a plan towards that. That's what I ended up doing. And now I'm here. It's a little over 6 months that I've been here, and it's been incredible, life-changing, honestly. Not just because of the things I expected, because of the things that have happened that I didn't expect.
Welcome to the Secrets to Abundant Living podcast. Your guide on this journey is Amy Sylvis, ready to unlock the keys to a life of true abundance. We're diving into everything from financial freedom and optimal health to meaningful relationships, geographic freedom, and everything in between. It's about creating a life rich in experiences, purpose, and joy. Get ready for empowering conversations, expert insights, and real-life stories that inspire you to live abundantly. If you're ready for the secrets to an abundant life, hit that subscribe button now, and let's get started.
Secrets to Abundant Living podcast audience, welcome. I have another treat for you all today, but before I introduce her, our podcast is growing, which is incredible. So we're going to encourage you to subscribe if you already haven't to our, whether you're listening on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, or on YouTube, and rate and review us. We are so grateful for the feedback that you give us, and it helps us inform the type of content we'll continue to give you. For those who don't know me, I'm Amy Sylvis. I'm the founder and CEO of Sylvis Capital. We connect investors to hands-off real estate investment opportunities. But most importantly, we've got a great guest today, another Trojan. You all know this network, it just keeps getting better and better. And when I had the opportunity to speak to Jennifer, gosh, it was probably a month ago, I'm like, oh, my podcast community needs to hear all about her, the great things she's doing, and how she's creating abundance in her life. So without further ado, Jennifer, it's so nice to have you on the podcast.
Yes, first of all, fight on. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Good to be here.
Yes. Tell us a bit more about yourself. Would love to hear. You are multidimensional, so this may take a little bit to unpack, but yeah, let us know about you.
Sure. So let's see. Born and raised in California. I'm first generation in my family to go to college. My family is actually from Peru. My mom immigrated to the US in her, I would say, mid to late 20s, only child. And from very early on was very much on the track of going to college, getting a good education, going into the corporate world, having a traditional career path. So that's what I did. Early on, I knew that I wanted to pursue engineering and went to USC to pursue a degree in industrial and systems engineering, then got into the corporate world and ended up going back to school to do my MBA at UCLA. And after a 17-year career track in tech, ended up moving to Portugal just last year because I had this dream to pursue for so long to get this experience of living in Europe. But that's a bit about me and my career in terms of who I am and what I love to do. I love traveling, have been to probably 28 countries last time I counted, and have a lot more to go. I have such a passion for traveling the world, and I feel like it's just another way for me to grow as a person and build this kind of social network and community of people that are friends, practically family that I've met through my travels, and that's a huge passion of mine. Yeah, in a nutshell, that's me.
So impressive. So impressive. Whether it's engineering, whether it's deciding to get your MBA, whether it's, moving across the world and following your dreams. We just don't encounter enough people that are truly on that path. I was actually talking to an amazing woman, I hope she listens to this podcast, yesterday, who finds herself, her company just isn't treating her well, and she's trying to get her life to where you are, where she truly has this control, geographic freedom, to be
Right.
around people that she wants to be around. So how did you get there? Was it
Yeah.
hard? Was it difficult? Help us understand how you got to
Right.
Portugal and what brought you there.
Absolutely. Since I was sharing my background a bit of my mom coming from Peru, and in her youth, she always traveled. She instilled in me this desire to explore the world. So ever since I was little, I mean, I was 5, my first time that I went to Peru and visited my family for the first time. And I think that's where the seed was planted of me just wanting to always have this new experience and traveling and being global. And in college, actually in USC, I studied abroad in Rome. So I had that experience, which a lot of people do. And right, what better place than to study abroad in Rome for 3 months? So it was amazing. I always had this desire of not just being there for vacation or traveling for a short time, but actually being in a new country and experiencing living in a new culture, potentially a new language, having this full experience of immersing myself in this new world. And once I started working and came out of college, it was just very limited opportunities to do that. Very hard in a corporate environment to make that move to a new country. There's so many different steps that you need to take. And I actually did have an opportunity to do that right after my MBA to move to Prague. And at the time, I had UCLA, MBA, grad school debt. So I wasn't able to make the move because of the financial aspects that you have to take into consideration in making this kind of corporate move. So I always had that desire, but it just wasn't the right time. And I remember a manager telling me, like, if you don't do this now, you may never have the opportunity to do this. And I thought, okay, well, I just can't. Well, hopefully I will someday. And it wasn't until this last year that I decided this is the move I need to make. I've been postponing this for so long, and it actually wasn't going to happen through my career, through my job that I was at, the company that I was at. It wasn't going to be possible to move to where I really wanted to experience this, which is Portugal. And I the decision, the big decision to resign in July of last year and made the move in September once the visa was approved. It was a hard decision. It's a lot of, I would say, self reflection. It's a journey and figuring out what you want to do and putting yourself first and making a big decision that affects you, your family, and potentially the future in a good way. And I think this kind of abundance mindset of knowing that things will work out, but it's important to fulfill this desire that you have and see what happens, building a plan towards that. That's what I ended up doing. And now I'm here. It's a little over 6 months that I've been here, and it's been incredible, life changing, honestly. Not just because of the things I expected, because of the things that have happened that I didn't expect. Things that you go into when you move to a new country that you just don't know until you're there and experiencing. And now I'm on this completely different path in my career in terms of being creative and thinking outside the box and wanting to be entrepreneurial, which is why I did the MBA in the first place. And finally having the opportunity to create my own business through a career coaching program that I'm creating. And that this is where I'm at. It's been incredible. I've absolutely loved it. And so my advice to this woman that you mentioned,
Yeah.
is it's really reflect on what it is that you desire and talking to people who've done it already to get some advice and some knowledge on the reality of moving abroad. I think that's so important. And then knowing where to go, because for a long time, I knew I wanted this experience of being in a different country, but I didn't know where.
Mm.
And it wasn't until I trialed Lisbon, Portugal 1 year, actually a year before I moved. And that's when I realized, like, this is where I want to be. I felt so connected. And I'll tell you some reasons like why, but
Yeah.
it was just this connection that I felt to this city. And that's how I felt that this is where I want to be. And that's what I'm going to plan to make happen for myself. And here I am.
Amazing. What a journey. We
Yeah.
talk often on this podcast about the fact that at least American culture often teaches us that our end goal should be money. Our end goal should be doing that. But in reality, I think most people are striving to do what they want, where they want, when they want, with whomever they want, for however long they want. And money, it's not as though money isn't important. Money can be the vehicle to get us there, but focusing on that destination like you have of you followed what culture told you, got your undergrad, got your MBA,
Yeah.
or was in
Yeah.
the corporate world. And for some people, that may be completely fine, but you, it
Right.
sounds like, identified something that was a passion of yours early on of you
Yeah.
want to travel, you want to meet new people, you want to shape your life
Right.
instead of having corporate kind of dictate all of that. Is that right?
Ah, no, you're spot
Yeah.
on because for most of my career, once I graduated from undergrad, I moved around mostly California. I was in North Carolina for about a year right out of college, but all of my moves were based on the career. Like I moved to Silicon Valley because I knew my career was going to grow in comparison to Southern California. I knew that being at headquarters was where the opportunities were, and they were. I
Right.
was able into management and into director level positions like very quickly because I was in the Bay Area in the right position, in the right place. But then I realized I want to have this experience in a different country. I want to have this life-changing experience. And it happens to not be in the Bay Area. That happens to be in Portugal. And I realized that for me, it's about have my life revolve around where I'm living and choosing where I live based on where I want to be, not because of the job, but because of the experiences and the experiences I've had here in terms of the social life, building community, and having that creative kind of space where I can now figure out something else to do in my career has been incredibly inspiring. And so it was a mindset shift for sure, because for so long I created this decision making in my life around the job or the company and not about where I'm at in my life and what I want to do. That's beyond career. And this is now it's been a big change. It's been a big change, and I have loved every moment of it. It's been a roller coaster for sure in terms of just adjusting to a different culture, being in a country where I don't speak the language. I'm learning though.
All right.
And it's had its challenges, but the amount of personal growth that I've experienced because of that, which then ties to career, whatever ends up happening in the future, I think that's incredibly important and valuable at the same time.
Beautiful. And it is not lost on me in 2025. This was a privilege women always had historically, right?
Yeah.
Just to have that freedom to do that. But then the technology as well. I'd love to dive a bit more into maybe how you're able to leverage being almost wherever you want. You chose Portugal, but
Right.
to start your business, to be an entrepreneur, it sounds like it's not tied to a certain location, which in itself gives tremendous freedom, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was here in Lisbon in 2023, I was part of a program with a bunch of mostly Americans, I would say, but it was a very international group of people that were digital nomads and freelancers, most of them who've been in corporate and then decided to pursue their own business as freelancers in different fields. And I think that's when stepping away from the traditional corporate world and seeing that it is possible to have the freedom and flexibility of your schedule and being able to travel and be in different countries while building your business and creating sales and getting leads with clients and doing a lot of the same things you do in a corporate environment, but for yourself and for your own goals. That just allowed me to see the possibility because for so long, like I was saying, it was more of the traditional career path because that's all I knew and that's
Right.
all I had seen. And I think also being first generation and not having other examples around you or in your family that have been able to pursue this kind of entrepreneurial freedom path is harder because you don't know what you don't see. And finally, when I was in this program and saw that there are folks like myself that are able to create their business and have the flexibility and have the freedom of time, I was like, this is possible. That is possible to do.
Yes.
And so I've been on this journey of talking to people, understanding their journey, their mistakes that they've made, the opportunities that they've had and created, and have been mimicking that and learning as well as I go. And also having I would say, the bravery in doing it because being in corporate and obviously making the money and getting the stock and building that wealth, that kind of safety net that you have is more challenging when you're an entrepreneur and starting from scratch, right? It's definitely a different mindset and being okay and being not just okay, but excited and not having that fear that kind of stops you from pursuing that, that's a journey in itself and working towards that. And that's the journey I've been on here. It's almost like I was telling a friend yesterday that being in Portugal and moving to a new country has almost been like a test bed for entrepreneurship because there's a lot of resiliency challenges along the way and setbacks in getting your residency, the learning all of the bureaucracy process and doing all of these things to even be here more than the typical 3 months. It's been a lot of lessons learned that then translate to helping entrepreneurship.
I love that. What I
Yeah.
love that you've mentioned several times now about being in community and being around people who are already where you want to go, right? The power of whether we like it or not, we are social creatures. We become the people that we're around. It's just
Right.
how, historically for humans, it was a survival mechanism. If you were outside of the group, you didn't have the protection, the food, the
Yeah.
shelter that you needed. And we still have that innately in us. So,
Yeah.
to say you joined this group of digital nomads, you learned
Mhm.
from them, you said that you saw what was possible. I think it's tough for a lot of us. Again, in culture, we see
Yeah.
this one path, but you were able to intentionally expose yourself to other people doing other things and say, hey, is this for
Yeah.
me? Is this something I want to do? And then when you decided it was, you can emulate, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can follow
Yeah.
the steps that other people have taken to know that you'll get where you need to go.
Exactly. And personally, I get so energized by community. A lot of my career track and even the last role I was in for most of my career had spent doing more sales, business development. In the last couple years, I spent in a HR DEI role and purely was creating communities and building out communities within the company, 20,000 plus person company. So community to me is like my core. That's where I get energized. That's where I feed off of other people's spirit and energy and positivity and help build this kind of space where I feel again energized. And there's a special piece of Lisbon that I absolutely love, which is this sense of community here. I think that's what really attracted me to come here and test it out versus any other place. And I tested other places as well, but my family back home is like, why Lisbon? Who's there? Why are you going there? And a lot of it, right? A lot of it was community. The community I had built, some of the folks, the freelancers and digital nomads I had met in the program before had also decided to move here after spending a month. There is a huge tech hub now that's developing in Lisbon and quite a few US tech-based companies that are putting their EMEA HQ in Lisbon. So there's something about the community here, whether it's expats or immigrants that are now creating this space for entrepreneurship or working in tech. It's really incredible to see. And I know that's been a change that Lisbon has seen over the last few years. But coming here and seeing that I'm not alone, I'm here to also continue building more of my network and friendships. But I came here already knowing people and having things in common with people. And there's a whole community of coaches on meetups that are getting together and talking and sharing and collaborating. The sense of collaboration, too, is also a core piece of who I am and how I enjoy working. And so that's another reason why Lisbon in particular was such a great place that was a calling for me and to explore. Yeah, that piece is really important.
Have you ever thought about having multiple streams of income? Instead of relying on just one stream of income where you're trading your time for money, how would you like to free up more of your time and live a more abundant life? As a listener of the show, you're invited to attend one of our upcoming trainings where I'll give you an inside look into how you can add passive income and get all the other perks of recession-resistant real estate investing without the headaches of being a landlord. We'll also be sharing some hidden mistakes to avoid and the criteria I personally look for when evaluating potential investment opportunities. To reserve your seat for free, go to sylviscapital.com/webinar. Again, that special link to reserve your seat for free is sylviscapital.com/webinar. I look forward to seeing you on the training. And now back to the show. I love this theme that I'm hearing from you, Jennifer, of you're not just in it for yourself, but you mentioned community, you mentioned also giving back. So I love this notion I'd love to explore, you
Mhm.
left your W-2. How are
Yeah.
you making income? But it sounds like you're
Yeah.
turning around and helping other people. That's part of what you're doing. That's part of what you
Right.
like and who you are. And you made a
Um,
business out of that. Can you talk to us about
right.
kind of that process of leaving the W-2, being an entrepreneur, what you're doing now specifically?
Yeah. Well, a lot of what we had been talking about previously too is this kind of freedom of time. The freedom, the financial freedom is also really important.
Sure.
And from a timing perspective, I just wasn't in a place in my career earlier to be able to do this. And that's why I think timing is so important in life. 'Cause you never know. Sometimes you just want to force things to happen. And sometimes you have to plan for it and really be in a place where it's okay, like, to do that, and for me, I'm in a place where I was able to take the time because I have the financial freedom to be able to spend this time growing and building, then it allows me the space to do this now in my life, so I'm really appreciative of the 17 years of experience that I've been building up and the financial wealth that I've built up to be able to have this kind of flexibility. But when I look at fulfillment and what I've enjoyed doing and like the common string across all of my jobs and careers has always been that coaching aspect, whether I'm managing a team of sales engineers early on in my career or in the latter part of my career and coaching those in HR function. I've always enjoyed helping grow others and get to their best capability, right? Their best existence, whether it's in their life or in their career, right? And I see so much fulfillment in that. Like the other day, even just naturally, I'm Peruvian, right? So we love Peruvians.
Yeah, yeah.
The other day, I got a LinkedIn message from a student that I had coached and that I met actually at a chicken place, a
Okay.
Peruvian chicken place. Long story short, like he ended up going to university and is now interning at a really big company, Fortune 100 company,
Wow.
this summer. And he had a lot of setbacks before we had the opportunity to, and he messaged me and was super grateful for the introduction, the coaching that I had given him, and to see where he's at now with this internship and things like moments like that I hear from others when I was just informally coaching because that's what I love to do naturally and is my passion is so fulfilling for
Mm.
me. And just to see that to pay it forward, especially with those in my community, people like myself that are first generation and maybe don't have the mentors or see people in their close circle or close network or family that are emulating the life that they want to build. I think that's so important to give back to those that have similar stories and similar backgrounds to myself. I just find that so fulfilling. And that's why coaching is something I've always wanted to pursue, but just never had the space or the time or the financial freedom to do it. And now this is the time. This is the time.
Incredible. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and I think it's important for the audience to understand because I think in this kind of financial freedom, live life on your own terms, the W-2
Right.
job isn't always is vilified. But I love that you illustrate of, hey, this W-2 time was a foundation for me to build upon to get to, yeah, the freedom that I wanted. So it had its role. And
Right.
so, yeah, for those who may be in that, and we've had another podcast guest, Maurice Philogene, which a lot of our audience is probably familiar with, where he
Yeah.
talks about leveraging W-2 income to do something very similar. So I love for those that are in a W-2, this is not wasted time. This isn't you're on the wrong trajectory. This may be exactly where you need to be. And as Jennifer mentioned so perfectly, the timing is everything. So the timing may be coming up. And I love that you illustrate that.
Yeah, and there's also having both is an option. A
Totally.
lot of people I met in the program I did have the W-2, or they were able to convince their employers to be in a contractor role,
Hmm.
so they have more flexibility to work abroad, so you don't have the legal aspects of working in a different country. And then they're doing freelancing and contracting, or if you've heard of like the fractional working model where
Yeah.
you're basically outsourcing your services to different companies at the same time. So there's so many options, which when you're on the traditional path, you don't really know about until, again, you meet people and start creating community and sharing what are all the options out there for making an income, because it's not just W-2.
Yes.
So yeah, there's a lot of things out there now. And I think also I've been hearing that millennials, like, we're more open as a generation to having this kind of non-traditional paths of making an income. I think the biggest thing is educating ourselves and finding the right people and resources to know what to do with wealth when you create it, how to
Mm.
invest it, work for yourself. So that way you can start creating this life where you're working towards things, not just for the money, but for money to help build the life that you want to create. So that's been the biggest lesson is I wish I had learned things earlier on. And that's why I think giving back is so important, because I love to share with really the early career, the young generation that, again, coming up like me, didn't know or didn't have the mentors to teach them how not to make certain, I wouldn't say mistakes, but just know more upfront so that they could get to their goals a lot quicker.
Absolutely. Well, I love that you mentioned millennials or maybe even Gen Z are more open to this non-traditional path. I think some people would also argue it's almost a necessity with inflation, with layoffs and all these things. Some folks are finding, hey, I don't have a choice. Like, I need to find a different way to maintain my lifestyle to make sure I have more security. So whether it's a dream or a necessity, it's just so encouraging to see by your example what is possible. Can you
Yeah.
tell us a bit more specifically about what your coaching program looks like? Can you share?
Yeah, sure. So my coaching program is going to focus on kind of the mid-career professional in tech that is also first generation and feels stuck in their careers. And I think that says a lot about my experience, because I've had so many pivots in my 17 years. I've gone from traditional sales engineering and then did the MBA, was able to pivot to business development. From BD, was able to pivot to HR, completely major pivot in my career. So I've had multiple opportunities where I've been able to completely change and shift. And I see that there are quite a few people out there, right, that are in their careers that are feeling stuck and just not sure where to go from there, whether it's stuck in not receiving a promotion or feeling stuck and not feeling confident enough to pursue that next role, or just not knowing how to shift in their careers from one track to another. And that's really what I'll be offering and have been offering. Actually, I was able to get a client, a US client, and coach him through getting a role in tech here in Portugal. And so it's basically been a really, really nice shift of like fully focusing for me now, this pivot of corporate to entrepreneurship and shifting to this career of coaching. That's really what I'm going to be focusing on, and excited to work with those that are interested or feel like they need to get unstuck.
Tremendous. Talk about how many people you could possibly help. You're right. Countless people are
Yeah.
feeling that. And the fact that you've been able to figure it out, and your path may not be exactly what everyone's going for, but you have that insight, that experience, that practical
Right.
knowledge to be able to coach folks through that. Very
Exactly.
valuable.
Yes. Yes. I love it.
Beautiful. So we talk a lot about cultivating abundance on this podcast. What's next? What else do you want to cultivate in your life in terms of abundance?
Oh my gosh. I honestly feel like this is probably the most abundant living that I've had.
Yeah. Yeah.
Being here. I think a lot of it too is that this culture of prioritizing your own well-being. And that's what I've been doing a lot here in terms of from a health perspective. We talk about health insurance in the US, and I experienced a little bit of that when I resigned from my job and then, was on my own versus what I pay for healthcare here and the type of care that I get here. It's night and day, significant difference in my pocket. So focusing on my health, focusing on my well-being, my mental well-being, which part of it is just having that flexibility and creating my schedule day in and day out, being able to go to the coffee shop down the street, being able to spend a day outside of Lisbon. There's just so many places to explore within this country alone that it feels like mini vacations that I could take in between my working schedule. So that's been really abundant for me. And now, like, sharing that life with my mom who's visiting here from the US and exposing her to like what lifestyle this could be for both of us is incredibly inspiring. And I hope to continue down this path to live out this life. I'm really, really enjoying it. And I think at the end of the day, it's a mindset wherever you are in the world, wherever you live in the world, but it also helps to be in a place that values your time and your well-being more than your career and your working and grinding, right? Like this is when it's easier to set boundaries for yourself when everyone else is setting those boundaries as well. And that's what I've enjoyed seeing in terms of the difference in culture and lifestyle compared to back home.
Amazing. Well, congratulations to you. I love hearing that your mom is visiting you. You're showing her what's possible. You all are able to enjoy that time together as well. I just really appreciate you sharing with our community what you're up to.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's been lovely chatting with you.
Yes. If folks want to get a hold of you, whether they just want to know more about your story, if they want to coach with you, what's the best way for folks to reach out?
Sure. So best way to reach out is LinkedIn. All of my content and what I'm offering is going to be on my LinkedIn page. So Jennifer Boicic, you can search for me. I'm the only one, Jennifer Boicic,
Nice.
on LinkedIn. So you can search for me there. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes. And I hear you. There's something really fun about the only person with that name, right?
And that name, right?
I have that luxury too. It's pretty nice.
I love that.
Jennifer, thanks again. So excited. I am speaking it into existence. I will see you in Lisbon one day where we can take the fun fight on picture together. Yeah.
Oh, I
would love to visit you as I invite myself. You got to speak these things into existence.
You definitely do. And I have to find the Trojan Network in Portugal. I'm sure there is one.
Yes. Yes. So I think that there's a really strong one in Paris. We'll connect offline.
Okay.
Yeah, but they meet up there and I think it's for the whole continent. So
I love
Trojan
that.
Mafia is everywhere. You can't escape.
Exactly.
Right?
I will travel to be with the Trojan Mafia.
I love it. Everyone, thanks for joining us today. I encourage you to reach out to Jennifer. I'm positive you're as energized as I am about hearing about her amazing story. So again, share this episode if you found it valuable to folks in your community, add value to them, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Secrets to Abundant Living podcast. We hope you found inspiration and valuable insights that will empower you on your journey towards abundance. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback means the world to us, and it helps others discover the secrets to an abundant life too. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn, Amy Sylvis. Keep striving for your goals, nurturing your relationships, and embracing the adventure that is life. Until next time, we wish you an abundantly fulfilling day.